Breakdown, baby. I really got the breakdown. 1, 2, 3.
Hi there, welcome back to my studio. My name is Carl Boltzmann, and in this video, I'm going to be deconstructing DJ Shadow's The Number Song from his 1996 album, Introducing. Now, there are about a dozen samples to go through in this song, but before we go through those songs and how DJ Shadow sampled them, let's take a listen to The Number Song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breakdown, baby.
So there are really two samples that make up the backbone of the Number Song. And the first one is the bass, which is Metallica's Orion from the 1986 album Master of Puppets. It's the intro here with Cliff Burton playing the bass. Let's take a listen to that now. Now, as a lot of you probably know, Cliff Burton, the original bassist for Metallica, he did like to find different sounds with his bass, and I think that's one of the things that appealed to DJ Shadow in this intro. He's got like a phaser on there, he's playing chords. Now let's go ahead and sample this track. The first thing that he did is, I think he upped the pitch by 1, so we need to find that bass without the drums. So the loudest start is right there. So we're going to take that piece and we're going to bump that up to the Number Song. And I read an interview about this. So what he would have done is he overlaid the sample. So he just copy and pasted it and then faded out one and faded in the other. And then you can extend the sound. So you can extend it as long as you want to. So let's see how long it is here. Okay, so right there it changes. So what we'll do is we're going to find the next note. And so what he did is he moved that there. Again, this note also doesn't last very long, so we're going to have to do the same treatment. So it ends right there. And what we're going to do is the same thing that we did up there, where we're just going to have one track overlap over the other and fade in, fade out. Okay, so I'm just going to loop this up a little bit and throw some compressors on it and stuff. And that's nice and compressed now, not overly compressed, but it just makes the volume nice and even. And so let's move on now to the drums. They are probably the most important element to the Number Song from a musical perspective. And they are sampled from the third guitar and their 1968 song, Baby Don't Cry.
I want you to come back. Let's talk it over now. I want you to come on back. I want to explain to you I won't alone, but now I'm fine. Oh, baby, don't you cry now. Baby, don't you cry. And please, I don't want you to weep, and I don't want you to make me cry. Good God, come on now. Ow! All right, I heard a boss saying down on pit. And I know that you said.
So this is a great track, obviously. But one of the things that makes this break so interesting is that because the vocalist is grooving on top of the drum break, there are really only a few instances where the drums are alone.
Baby, don't you cry now. Baby, don't you cry. And please, I don't want you to weep.
And it's not a situation where we can filter it out by going either on the left channel or the right channel, which we've done in the past. You are stuck with it. It's right down the middle. You cannot get this out. And so what DJ Shadow did here was pretty ingenious, honestly, back in the early 90s with those samplers. He was using an Akai MPC-60. But what he did here is he only took the little pieces where the drums were alone, and then he recombined them to make a very realistic drum sound. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through. And I'm going to cut out any time that he is singing in order to do the same thing that DJ Shadow did. So here we have, and then the next bit I just cut out.
Baby, don't you cry now.
So all that needs to come out. And so we have this. And then the next bit here. So right there, that's got to come out. And so what he did was he took each one of these pieces, and I'm pretty sure that he assigned them to the pads on the MPC-60 and compiled it that way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start compiling these drums. I'll be back in about 15 minutes when I've figured out the pattern. So this is obviously in the green, and here's what we have so far. Now, one of the reasons why it sounds fairly natural is a trick that DJ Shadow would use, and I've employed on a couple of the other deconstructions that I've done of his music, is that he would overlap the samples, especially with samples that have cymbals or ringing out hi-hats. So if these samples don't overlap one another, then it's going to have an abrupt cut, and it's going to sound unnatural. But DJ Shadow wanted to make it sound as though it was a real drummer playing this, and it wasn't cut up. Which I think he did a very good job of. And so this is all it is, you know, and you just have to overlap the tracks, fade in, fade out, so that the bleed of the cymbals have somewhere to go. It kind of tricks the ear. Let's put the bass and the drums together and see how we're doing. Let's compare that to DJ Shadow's number song. And that's ours. And so I'd say we've done a pretty good job here. Obviously, his is a little bit bassier than mine. From what I'm finding with DJ Shadow's sound is there's definitely a high cut. I don't know if this was intentional. Maybe it was, you know, preamps. Maybe it's EQs he was using. I have no idea what kind of hardware he was using to run some of this stuff through. There's always a boost in the bass, and there's always a cut in the high. And that's just kind of part of the trip-hop sound, to be honest with you. But that's how the bass and the drums, that's kind of the main foundation of the number song was made. But at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that there were 12 samples in this song that we're going to talk about today. So let's start with the intro. The intro to the number song has a countdown.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breakdown, baby.
And so that's actually two separate samples there. The first one is Tila Rock and their 1985 song, Breakdown, from the album He's Incredible.
Break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breakdown. I really got the breakdown. I know I understand party.
And so like I've said in the past, if you ever want to listen to any of these songs in their entirety, I have them all linked below in the video description. So please go ahead and do that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Break down, baby.
So that Break It Down Baby comes from Don Covay and their 1970 track Bad Luck from the album Different Strokes for Different Folks.
Lord. Break down, baby. Suck it. Bad luck. Knock on my door. Bad luck.
Now the next sample we're going to talk about comes in around the 40-second mark. And it comes from Kurtis Blow and their track AJ Scratch from the 1984 album Ego Trip.
1, 2, 3, 4, hit it. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, hit, 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 hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, hit it.
Up in the booth with the people of fresh, there was one DJ who had to pass the test.
And then the next track we're going to talk about comes in here at the around a minute mark. And this comes from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and it's a 1982 recording of Flash It to the Beat. Now, this Flash It to the Beat recording was actually a bootleg. Flash didn't actually sign off on it. He didn't know about it. The other interesting thing about this sample, too, is that apparently Grandmaster Flash was playing the drum machine live, and so we're going to take a listen to it here.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and listen to this, just listen to this, just listen to this, just listen to this. For all you MCs in a crew, this is what we want y'all to do. Shoot, 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 shoot. So you wanna be the MC, huh? Shoot, 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 shoot. Well, we got something for you, huh? Shoot, 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 shoot. Boy, you ain't down. Listen to this, just 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 listen to this.
Also, I didn't mention earlier, but I should have, but the tempo of the number song is around 102 BPM. It's a little bit less. I have it at 101.85. Anyway, let's move on to the next sample that we're going to talk about. Which, of course, is another count in. And this one comes from Bobby Williams and their 1973 track, Funky Superfly.
1, 2, 3, hit it. Come on. Come on, do it. Come on. Funky Superfly. Hey, show is funky. Look good to me. Hey, show is funky, y'all. 1, 2, 3, hit it.
And so the next sample that comes in here that we're going to talk about is from Creations Unlimited and their track Corruption is the Thing from 1972. And so the nice thing about this sample is that by beat matching, by bringing it up around almost exactly a semitone, it just really matches the number song. So those horns and this sample here, this breakdown, comes from the band Pearly Queen and their 1974 track, Quit Jive'In.
Yeah, get it to me. Just give me the thing. And I give you my thing. Yeah, get down. Hey, give it to me. Yeah, give it up. Hey, you know, fellas, like, this girl is really wild, man.
For this one, he didn't stretch it, he didn't speed it up or slow it down or do anything to it. And then the next breakdown to happen is right after this one. And so those drums there come from Tony Alvon and the Belairs and their 1969 track, Sexy Coffee Pot.
Mira eso. One more time.
Now, the other thing that he did, you can hear him scratch over top, and he does these counter beats. It's almost like another bass drum. It's almost like two drummers playing, but it's sort of like another bass drum going on underneath this beat. Now, DJ Shadow is kind of famously not a drummer, but I've always been so impressed with the way that he understands the drums, because that's fairly rare, but he does. He just gets it. Now, there's one last sample that we're going to talk about today. It's right at the end of the number song. So that long drum outro comes from the band He's Six and their track Get Ready from the 1970 album Beautiful Doll. And so that concludes my deconstruction of DJ Shadow's The Number Song. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing or giving a thumbs up or leaving a comment below. What do you guys think of this song? Do you like the drums in this one? I'm sort of on the fence about the number song. It's not my favorite song on the album, but I do respect what he put together here. And I really do love the collage of samples that he used. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.